Ring of Honor Supercard is this Friday, the night before WrestleMania. It's WrestleMania weekend, baby, so let's get straight into predictions. First up, we got the Lucha Brothers, Penta and Rey Fenix, versus Top Flight, which is Dante and Darius Martin, versus The Kingdom, which is Matt Taven and Mike Bennett, versus Aussie Open, which is Mark Davies and Kyle Fletcher, versus La Fashion, which is Rush and Dralistico. Now, it's a reach for the sky ladder match in honor of obviously Jay Briscoe, rest in peace, for the now vacant ROH World Tag Team Championship. This match is going to be absolutely insane. Insane. We know what Penta and Phoenix can do in ladder matches. The fact that we've got Aussie Open, who is a top 5 tag team in the world, in my opinion, in this match is just insane. Top Flight, them with some ladders is going to be crazy. So I'm down for it. I'm honestly down for this. I'm super excited. Who's going to win? I think it's going to be Rush and Dralistico. I really think it's going to be Rush and Dralistico. They've been shown probably the most. Either them or Top Flight. Top Flight might be a nice one. I'm not going to lie. But either them or Top Flight. I'm going to say Rush and Dralistico. Go with my first pick. I think they're going to be the first to win it. Rush has obviously been a lot on AEW TV, a lot of Ring of Honor TV. He's actually featured quite a bit. He's a former Ring of Honor World Champion, if I'm not wrong. I'm pretty sure I'm right on that. I'm pretty sure I did a video and he's actually a more than one time Ring of Honor World Champion. Stumbled on my words there, sorry about that. So I think it's going to be them two winning this, and I think it's going to be a brilliant match to honor Jay Briscoe. Next up, we got the Embassy, which is Brian Cage, Khan, and Toa Luna, versus AR Fox, Blake Christian, and Metalik. And this AR Fox, Blake Christian, and Metalik trio, I was about to say duo, trio has been interesting. I didn't think they'd have chemistry, but in ring they definitely have chemistry. Definitely. Sometimes it gets a bit much between them three with all the flips and all that, but I guess that's the thing. That is their thing, so I'm not gonna hate on it. So for me, I think AR Fox, Blake Christian, and Metalik are gonna walk away as new trios champions, because if I remember the dirt sheets correctly, Brian Cage is expected to be leaving AEW, which I assume means his Ring of Honor contract is also expected to be up, or whatever type of contract he has, it's expected to be up fairly soon. So I think AR Fox, Blake Christian, Metalik are going to win it. They've been heavily shown on Ring of Honor TV. They've been heavily featured, and rightly so. I mean, all in their different ways. They've been heavily featured. I mean, Blake Christian had their match on the first episode with Zack Sabre Jr. AR Fox had the match with Claudio on his first night. So they've been heavily featured, and I think they deserve some gold around their waist. And then the third match of the night, we got Samoa Joe versus Mark Briscoe, and I am super excited for this match. Super excited. I think Mark Briscoe's had... Look, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not a huge Ring of Honor fan. Well, I'm a big fan of it. I lie. I'm not a huge fan of their history. I don't know much about their history. I got a feeling Mark Briscoe always went for that TV title, but he never got it. Or he finally got it. I'm not 100% sure. The point is, Mark Briscoe holding that TV title is what I want to see. I want to see that. I want to see Samoa Joe lose that TV title. He's held it for a long time. Held it for a very long time. Mark Briscoe is a big part of Ring of Honor. I think he's a big name to have in Ring of Honor. Having him with the title is important in my opinion. I think he just has that aura about him, that Ring of Honor aura about him, and we know exactly why. We don't need to go into detail. We know exactly what it is about Mark Briscoe that is Ring of Honor. And of course you could say the same about Samoa Joe, but I just feel Joe might not be as active as Mark would, in my opinion. And I think it'd be a big win for Mark in his new shocking, unexpected singles career that's upon him. So I'm going to say Mark Briscoe. And I've just realized I've gone for 3 new champions. Of course, the first match is going to be new champions. But I've also said new champions in the trios match. I've also said new champions in the TV title match. So that's kind of crazy. Let's get on to the women's ROH Women's World Championship, which is Athena versus Yuka Sasaki. And Athena's winning this. She's a new champion. Fairly new. She's got this newfound aggression about it, this newfound attitude, which some people like. I half like it. At the same time, I don't know. I don't know. I need something more about her other than just I'm angry, I'm aggressive. But I'm not hating on her. She's really talented. We know this. I just need something a bit more. And we're slowly getting that with ROH TV. I'm enjoying the fact that it's a smallish group, and I hope he keeps it that way. We don't need a big group, and I think it will be a small group because they tape a lot of episodes at once. So it will be the same guys coming in and out. And I really hope that's the case, because then we can get to know some of these characters from a more deeper level, because they get lost on AEW. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. So I'm really excited to get to know a lot of these wrestlers in a deeper sense, especially someone like Athena. Okay, so I'm saying Athena retaining. That's my first pick that I've actually said the champion's retaining for four matches in. Next up, we got Wheeler Yuta versus Katsuri Shibata. And oh my, I saw this match yesterday. I was on a call with Unfiltered MPKH after we had recorded. Either the video will be out or it will be out later. One of the two. We recorded that video about Randy Orton. And when we were done, I was just scrolling through Twitter while we were chatting. And I saw this match announced. And I was like, oh my gosh. I might not be the biggest Wheeler Yuta fan. I also think, same with Athena, we need something more. We need a little bit of extra, a little bit of spice to that. Which I do think we are slowly getting with this heel turn with the BCC. And him being on Ring of Honor TV, of course. So I'm not going to go on too much about that. I think, let me give it time. But this match against Shibata, I mean, Shibata hasn't wrestled much. I think, I know there was a match with Orange Cassidy. I know he had his return match. Is there another match I'm completely forgetting? I don't think so. I don't think so. I remember he came back at Forbidden Door, just before Forbidden Door, but he didn't wrestle. He interrupted someone at the end. I cannot remember exactly who, but he hasn't wrestled much since that headbutt on Okada, that terrifying looking headbutt that he gave to Okada and cracked his skull. So he's had a slow and gradual return, and I think he's picking his dates nicely. And for Wheeler Yuta to get this is a big, big deal. And obviously in a Ring of Honor pure match, Ring of Honor pure title, so it has to be. And I think that's right up Shibata's alley as well. It's going to be hard hitting. It's going to be tough. It's going to be really aggressive, and I'm down for that. We know Wheeler Yuta can be super aggressive, super hard hitting. Shibata is obviously known for that style as well. I'm keen for it. I think Yuta's going to win, obviously, though. Shibata doesn't have the time in him to wrestle a somewhat semi-regular schedule. And obviously, Wheeler Yuta and Claudio champions. That's just how it's going to be. But that doesn't mean I just gave away my pick for the main event, because I've got something to discuss there. So don't click off yet. Next up, we got Al Hilo Del Vikingo. I probably said that wrong. I've heard it so many times over the past how long now, and I still can't pronounce it. Versus Commander. Now, where do I begin with this match? I appreciate the athleticism that these two wrestlers have. I really appreciate it. Like, I understand the difficulty and I understand how talented these men are. But at the same time, I think it's just going to be too much. You see, with the Kenny match and the Vikingo match, it was two contrasts. And I'm not saying they're usually two contrasts, but Kenny wrestled in a style that made Vikingo look so good. So am I saying Eddie? Kenny, that means Kenny drew back on what his style normally is. He didn't do all his high-flying moves. He didn't do all this. He didn't do all that. He showcased Vikingo. And I think that's when people like that look their best. When they actually have someone else allowing that person to do their work. But now when you got two people doing the same thing, both running the ropes, both doing this, both doing that, if it's short, it'll be fantastic. If it's not so short, if it goes on, I think it'll be too much. I think at that point it'll be too much, and it'll be... You tend to draw back from what they're doing, and you're like, okay, I've seen this now 6 times in the last 30 seconds. I know it's a different thing every time, but I've seen a high-flying spot over and over and over, and I'm expecting it now. I don't want to expect it all the time. But let me not get onto that too much, because I know people will come at me for that, but it's just my opinion. And I appreciate it, I enjoy it, but not too much of it. And of course, that is also for the AAA Mega Championship. So I'm assuming Vikingo is going to retain that, because I do not see him losing, because he's one of the longest reigning champions in a long time. I think. Could be wrong. I know Kenny's the longest reigning. Guys, this is late at night. I'm recording this. I've recorded 3 videos back to back. It's too much for me. It's too much for me. All right. In the main event, we got a match that I was in the process of doing a video for, but it just never came to fruition. Time caught up to me, and the match just happened. I didn't realize WrestleMania season came around. It got too busy. Claudio Castagnoli versus Eddie Kingston for the ROH World Championship. Now, this is a match that is 15, 16, 17 years in the making. Kenny and Claudio had their history in Chikara. Kenny and Claudio had their history all over the Indies, mainly in Chikara. 90% of it was in Chikara. And obviously, they were supposed to have their big blow-off match, which Eddie was, in all probability, going to get his win over Claudio. Because until that point, Claudio had the better of him. But then Claudio got his call up to WWE. Claudio got his contract laid on the table, and he was like, I'm signing this, I'm out. So he never completed the tournaments, which him and Eddie were in the finals of. So Eddie ended up facing somebody else and winning the first ever Chikara, I wouldn't say world title, it was called something else, I completely forgot. And then he held that for a very long time, left there, went to NWA, went to AEW. We know the story. Or if we didn't, I gave a little bit of a brief explanation to that story. Now, who wins this? Personally, I do not think this story is going to end here. I think it needs to get a lot more violent. I think it needs to get a lot more aggressive. And I think ROH TV needs something to work with. So I'm saying Eddie Kingston will eventually be the Ring of Honor World Champion. But I don't think it's going to happen right now. I know this is ROH's biggest event in the year. I get that. But I do think Eddie Kingston needs to go through a bit more violence with Claudio. Their rivalry is a lot more harsh than what it's made out to be right now on ROH TV. And I think that's done on purpose. I think it's building. That's what I personally think. I think it's building, and it's going to go, and it's going to go, and it's going to go. And it's going to lead to a big blow-off match, probably with some sort of stipulation, probably like a last man standing or whatever the case is, something a bit more Eddie Kingston-esque, and then Eddie will win it then. Who knows how long that'll be? Who knows? I mean, ROH have their pay-per-views every so often, so who knows how long that'll be, but it'll come. It'll come. So for now, I'm going to say Claudio Castagnoli is going to retain his ROH World Championship by hook or by crookery. Doesn't matter. He will retain it. He is a heel now. So I don't think it'll be 100% clean, but knowing Tony Khan, it won't be 100% dirty, if that makes sense. It'll be somewhere in the middle, somewhere within that fine line. But in saying that, I'm super excited for Supercard of Honor. I think it could be one of the pay-per-views of... let me rephrase. I think it's going to be the pay-per-view other than Mania, of the Mania weekend, because obviously we got the Multiverse for Impact. GCW's got Bloodsport. There's a few others going on there. I mean, Impact's... I just said Multiverse, so that's Impact New Japan. Bloodsport's happening at GCW. I don't know what else is happening. But I think this one could be on top with the wrestling, on top with the decision-making and the booking, and less finicky like the Multiverse, or whatever, Multi-Universe, or whatever it's called, pay-per-view will be, because I think both sides are going to want to have winners. But that's not the point. That's for another video coming up soon. Anyways, guys, I appreciate you watching this video till the end. If you watched it until the end, I don't know, leave a comment saying something like Big Tony for Claudio Castagnoli. I think he had a different name, but I think that's not PG. So leave that down in the comments if you watched it till the end. And if you have, well, thank you. Subscribe, guys. Hit that like button. Do all that stuff. Hit all those buttons except for the dislike button. You know how it is. And take care.